Welcome team, Coach Bonnie here. This is a beginner yoga video focusing on 3 poses: plank, side plank, and downward facing dog. We're going to go over these in detail and you'll find that there's a lot of core work to be done here. So starting off with plank. Plank is the first where your wrists start to hurt. So if your wrists are hurting, all you need to do is roll up your mat or use a towel and do a plank like this, okay? So in plank, our wrists and our hands are really active. You want to have your hands wide and firmly planted on the ground. This helps to activate rotator cuff muscles in the back. And so shoulder width wide or wider, and like so, okay? So we're going to stay in this plank for a minute if you will all join me. A minute is kind of a milestone for good core strength. When you're doing this plank, make sure that your shoulders are engaged, you're pushing through your palms, that your abs are pushing your spine up so you're not drooping in the back, and that your heels are pressing away. The head is not drooping. Ideally, you want the head up in line with the spine. A lot of people do their planks like this, and that's not the plank that we want to do. If you need to do less, go ahead and bring your knees down. But keep your head in line with your spine. One of the reasons we want to do this head in line with the spine, bikers, is that this is neck strength. This is not. So we want to strengthen our neck to have quiet shoulders when we're biking. So back to our plank. We're almost done. Very good. So go ahead and sitting down. We're going to pause for a second. We're going to do 2 more planks. So this next plank held for a minute as well. Remember, the hands are strong. The other thing that we don't want to do is we don't want to hyperextend our elbows. Hyperextending the elbows kind of just puts all the force into the joint, and you don't have any way of adjusting. So the eyes of the elbows should point more towards each other, and the elbows should always be slightly bent. So taking plank. Remember that the heels are pointing away from you. Shoulder blades are spreading apart. You're pushing through your palms. Now on this plank, if you want to kick it up a notch, go ahead and without lifting up the hips, not moving the hips at all, lift up your right foot about 3 inches. Keep the foot flexed, nice and strong. Put the foot down, lift the opposite up, nice and strong. Put the foot down and holding the plank 10 seconds more. And go ahead and resting down. So as we're resting, I'm going to do the plank sideways this time. We're going to add a little bit more into it. Or you can stay with regular plank. Remember, if these are a little bit too difficult for you at this point, if you lose form, just go ahead and drop your knees down. So I'm going to do plank sideways. Take my mat with me. So on this plank, and join me holding a plank for another minute. So this plank, notice how my shoulders are above my wrists. They're not like this. This is not plank. This is plank. My foot are strong. My heels are pressing away. My abs are lifting my spine up. So if you want to try this version of plank, this is kind of fun. Maybe the feet need to be a little bit wider. So we're going to lift up our foot. See how my hips didn't come up? Press the right hand down and lift up the hand. And set that back down. And switching. Lifting up the Left leg, keeping your hips down, find your core. And setting that down. Pause in your plank. And release it down. So if you're doing the baby plank, and that's okay, we want correct form. Baby plank needs to look like this. Not here, not here. Back is straight. Baby plank, maybe alternate a little bit, rest, a little bit, rest. Okay? So that's plank. Plank is an excellent way to build core strength. And then once your wrists are angry, go ahead and stretch your wrists like so. Okay, we're going to move on to side plank. Side plank is kind of fun. We'll start with an easier version of side plank. I like side plank because it teaches you how to roll in the pool, to use your torso in the side motion. So side plank, hand mostly under the wrist. The idea is that the feet are strong and straight and that the hips are straight. So if you needed a little bit of help, this is an acceptable side plank. Notice that I haven't engaged my upper shoulder yet. So we don't want to be here. We want to stack the shoulders above each other. The rest of it is here. So everything is in line with my heart. It's not like this side plank right here. If you wanted to kick it up a notch, feet up. And see how my feet are, I'm on the edge of my foot. My feet are stacked. That's where you want to try to get to. Okay? Don't let the hips sag. Nice and straight. Okay? And go ahead and rest that for a moment. We're going to switch sides. So on the opposite side, plant your hand and start in this easier position. Find where you're at. Get your foot, the edge of it. This strengthens your legs and your arches and your ankles. Stack your feet. You can stay here or here. So we're holding this for a while. Good. Go ahead and rest down. So a modification for side plank, if your shoulders are not in the game, is to do it on your forearms. So you could do side plank right here. Give it a whirl. See how it feels. Or here. Side plank. Okay, good job. We're going to do side plank on both sides again. We're going to kick it up a notch. So moving to the left side, plant your hand. Find the version of side plank that you're going to do. So if you're here, that's fine. For those of us here, hang out here. Extend the arms, side plank. The Sanskrit name for this is Vasisthasana. Isn't that fun to say? Side plank. And to kick it up a notch, lift up the foot. And if you're still with me, grab the foot and hold. And go ahead and release. Or move to the other side. So side plank on the other side. Plant the hand, the right hand. Find your side plank, which version you want. One thing that I work with my clients on is if you need to rest, fine, but try to return to the pose and finish out the pose. So side plank here, lifting up the foot. You can stay here, or if you want a little more challenge, find your foot. And side plank. Hoo-yah, barely. All right, so that's side plank. The next pose we're going to work on is downward facing dog. We're going to go over some of the anatomy points of it and then make it harder. So I'm going to switch my mat around again. So for you, for those that have never done downward facing dog, within the classes that I teach, this is a beginner struggle, how to find where the hands and feet should go. So downward facing dog, we're going to start in plank. So starting in plank, my hands and feet are where they need to be. And then you move to downward facing dog from here just by lifting up the hips. Okay? Don't move your feet. This is generally where your hands and feet should be. If you have tight hamstrings, bend your knees. So here's downward facing dog. And coming back down. So downward facing dog for tight shoulders, shoulder width wide or wider. Downward facing dog, hands are always active, and you want to try to push more weight here. It engages the rotator cuff muscles that you want to do. Your shoulder blades, you want them moving down your back. Okay? Downward facing dog is not meant as a hamstring lengthener primarily. Downward facing dog is meant as a spine extender. So if you need to bend your knees, I want you to focus on your hip bones and the idea of using your core to draw your hips up. So the hands are really strong, the arms are really strong in downward facing dog. You can get a lot of strength here. Always slightly bending the elbows. So plant the hands, join me. Planting the hands and pushing the hips up. So notice that the shoulder blades are coming down the back. I'm pushing my hands into the mat. And in this downward facing dog, if you want, go ahead and pedal your feet back and forth because the calves are probably tight, the hamstrings are probably tight. And go ahead and come down. So for our next downward facing dog, we're going to practice a little bit of forearm strength. I wanted to give this to you for those that are struggling with the wrist pain. The best way to fix wrist pain is to strengthen the forearms. So when you're pressing downward facing dog, you want to think about using your forearms so the carpal tunnel, this space right here, is coming off the mat a little bit. Your whole hand is an arch just like your foot. Okay, so you can come up a little bit. So it's kind of like this action where this is activated. How I learned to do downward facing dog well and strengthen my forearms was to do it on my fingertips. Some people won't be able to do that because their fingers will hurt. So what that looks like is I'm plank, I'm on my fingertips, downward facing dog. So I practice this a while. I do my burpees like this. So try that a couple of times, and you'll notice how much that strengthens your forearms. And that helps to alleviate this pain that we have from planks and other yoga stuff. Okay? So we're going to do downward facing dog a couple of more times. So the versions that you see a lot, we'll go through those. So planting the hands, find your feet in plank, inhaling, lifting up the hips. Here's downward facing dog. We're going to do a twisting variety. So what you're going to do is you're going to plant your left hand. The right hand is going to come behind your left knee and twist. Nice and strong with the left arm. Come back, and on the exhale, twist. And forward, and twist. Inhaling forward, twist. And one more time. Exhaling, twist. Forward, and exhaling, twist. And go ahead and come down. Another version of downward facing dog is three-legged dog. So we'll do that a couple of times. That's where you're just inhaling the leg up. This is common in a lot of yoga classes. I don't do it a lot. I don't like it. Feels kind of odd, but some people like it, some people don't. So find your downward facing dog. Lifting the hips up, shoulders are nice and strong. And it's just a simple inhale, the right leg up, the foot in the air is flexed. And what you can do is focus on the heel by the ground, letting it descend. It's a great hamstring calf stretch. So three-legged dog. Bring that leg down and inhale the other up. The leg in the air is strong, 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 and you minimize the twist in the shoulders. So let the heel on the ground drop. And coming down and resting. For giggles, I wanted to add one more downward facing dog. I don't think there's a name for it, but I made it up. I call it Mad Dog. The idea is this whole routine is focused on core work, pulling this area down, minimizing the amount of work done here, stress. So this one's fun, and in order to do it well, you have to engage your core from back here, pelvic floor, all the way up, and be calm, be strong, minimize the wildness out on the side or else you'll fall over. You'll see what I'm saying. We'll practice this more. So this is my Mad Dog. So find plank, and then inhaling the hips up for downward facing dog. And what you're going to do is you're going to inhale the right leg up, and then you're going to plant the right hand and attempt to move weight off of the left hand. And so you could start here. Remember that this foot in the air is strong and it's reaching up. It's key. Okay? So you can lift the hand up or bring it back towards your hip. Oh. One more time. Keep trying it. For Mad Dog. One thing you learn as you're struggling in those poses and you're kind of falling is to control your fall. You don't have to fall over on your nose. You've got a lot of core strength. Even though you're falling and you're not making it, don't throw the baby out with the bath water or whatever that is. Keep your core together and slow down your falling. So you gain strength there too. Let's try the other side, and I'm going to flip it around so you can see the other side. So Mad Dog on the other side. So plank, downward facing dog, and see my heels are off the floor. Don't worry about where your heels are at, it's all right. If your knees need to be bent, that's fine, or here. Okay? So I'm going to lift up my left leg, let my heel sink down, press through that left arm, and then find my core, and the hand come back. For Mad Dog. Okay? So that's a little bit of core work. Have fun with those. Enjoy.